Alrighty, we're back at Yes Please Perth, your home of pre-show drinks, post-show dinners for another Nights at Fringe episode. We're joined by another artist, but before we get into who you are, I'd like you to sell your show in 10 seconds.
Alright, my show is called Please Validate Me, and I talk about how much I hate myself and why life is meaningless for about 45 to 50 minutes, and I hope that you laugh at some of the relatability of the stories.
Well, welcome back as a performer. As a performer, how have you been treated amongst other Fringe artists? Have they been quite well receiving?
They're always super welcoming. I do love coming to work here in Perth, and I've worked here outside of Fringe time before, and I love the city and the community, and the Artist Club's always a good time.
Please Validate Me is the show name.
Yep.
Talk us through why that's the show that you have put on.
Well, I sort of sat down about a year ago and worked out that I really wanted to do a solo show. I had a few stories that I thought could serve a purpose and could help other people to feel better about themselves or their lives, or educate some people who can't relate to these experiences. And I figured at the end of the day that show was not only going to make me feel better about myself as a performer and as a human, but serve a bigger purpose in the world, or, you know, in the festival at the very least.
Who have you been seeing in the audience, or who are you looking forward to seeing in your audience?
Well, what's been really interesting, the show is probably written for younger people, and specifically queer people as well. Opening night here in Perth, I had an audience of boomers, all over 55. It was not what I was expecting, and I asked them why they were there. Not a single person had read the blurb of the show. And I didn't know how that show would go, and it was quite a quiet response from the audience, but I was out walking by the Pleasure Garden just there the other day, and one of those audience members came up to me and stopped me, and they said that they were so blind to what ignorance that they had in their own life prior to that, and how much the show had affected them. And I thought, well, I mean, I always would like to, have audiences read a blurb so they're aware of what they're getting into. My show is under comedy, and there are definitely some laughable moments, but there's some sad stories in there as well.
But at the same time, in this instance, it's worked out even better because you've actually channeled a new audience.
Oh, absolutely. It's not what I was expecting. It's probably still not the audience I'd sell to directly, but I'm so glad it resonated with at least a couple of those people.
But when an audience is on, how does that work for you?
I think the show has to be the same. I come from a musical theatre and theatre background, and you're always taught that no matter what the audience is giving you have to give the same level of energy. It cannot affect you. And I take that into comedy as well, because they've paid the same ticket price. If they're quiet and they're not feeling it on a Monday night, I get that. I probably don't feel it on a Monday night, but I'm going to act. I'm going to pretend, and I'm going to give them the exact same energy that you might get on a Friday or Saturday night.
All Benjamin.
Absolutely. All Benjamin all the time. All
Benjamin all the time. Is that a potential tagline for another show?
I reckon that wouldn't be a too bad one.
That sounds fantastic. All right, great. Well, you're from Adelaide. Mm-hmm. How does it go when you perform in Adelaide? Is that harder, easier?
I definitely don't let family members see my show. That would be a terrible idea. Plausible deniability is probably a good thing.
Absolutely.
I definitely feel more pressure performing to my friends, especially those I'm closer to, because the show is dedicated to one of my closest friends.
Right.
So, I don't know. I owe a lot more to them than I think they realise some of the time. It's definitely a lot harder performing to people you know than those you don't.
Are you hoping to see any other comedians, any other acts while you're here at Perth Fringe? What are your recommendations?
Well, I'm also producing UK comedian Andrew Silverwood, so I cannot highly recommend his show enough. It's called Call Me Janice.
Yes.
I love Anna Piper Scott, and her show Queer and Present Danger is utterly incredible. It just won one of the weekly awards.
Right.
Definitely go check that out. And there's a group I love coming from Melbourne called Breast of the Fest, and they've got a show later on at the festival that'll be really good as well.
Well, you can catch Benjamin and his show Please Validate Me at the Perth Girls' School up until the 2nd of Feb. Can't wait to see you there, and good luck for the rest of Fringe.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Benjamin.